Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to be all about the Drifting Sorrows Onslaught event. I'll be sharing some gameplay footage of the EX battle and Astral Volk battle, and while that footage rolls, I'm going to discuss the story of the event, share my thoughts and impressions on the event as a whole. Of course, this event features Yukata Lathna and Yukata Cleo. And so to start things off, before we get into any of that gameplay footage or talk about the event story, I do want to briefly mention the Gala Dragalia remix that's happening right now, since this still has a few days left in its showcase duration, and I know there's been a clamoring in the comments for me to review more showcases. So this one features Yukata Lathna, also Yukata Cleo, and the returning Gala adventure is Gala Notte, and there's even a returning Gala Dragon, Gala Reborn Agni. Long story short, I do think that there's pretty good value on this showcase. Not only do we have a good Gala Reborn Dragon here, but this Gala adventure Notte has a fantastic shared skill. She's a really strong wind DPS adventurer, and Legend Ciela, Yaldabaoth, both are good use cases for her. Yukata Lathna, I think, has a really standout co-ability and chain co-ability, and Yukata Cleo kind of rounds out the showcase. Probably not the thing I'd be most excited to summon here, but obviously does have a fantastic Yukata and beautiful portrait, as does Lathna. We'll take a look at those in just a second before we pop over to the gameplay, and I'll just try to explain what I mean here. So when it comes to Yukata Lathna, I think that, as I said, the thing that stands out is, just like Ieyasu, she has a combination of Strength as her regular co-ability and Dragon Haste as her chain co-ability. It's rare that you see a Blade co-ability of Strength combined with anything that can sort of increase your offense, like Dragon Haste, so I think that's a nice pickup, probably a top 3 or top 4 wind backliner after Mona, Dragon Yule Zanefried, and possibly Nino. I would probably put her above Nino, and it just depends on how readily you can maintain a combo, how valuable critical rate is for you, but I would actually probably put her a little bit above just to have this Strength co-ability. I think it's pretty solid and always very consistent. As far as her kit goes, she focuses on amps, defense amps, and does more damage with their second skill the higher the total combined level of the user's current team amps. In the wind element, you have Miriam, and then to a lesser extent, Gala Ronzel, Kasha that can help contribute to this, but I don't really see this as a standout aspect, and as far as her in-combat performance, I think she's better off as a backliner in co-op. I just don't see her as a particularly strong unit. She does have Dispel, which is nice. You know, team slots are limited, so you want some type of Stormlash or Dispel. You want every unit to bring some type of utility to your team comp, and I think she does that well with her co-ability, chain co-ability, and then the Dispel. Moving on from her, let's talk about Yukata Cleo. She's the one that I said rounds out the banner because although she has this interesting set of mechanics with adaptive suppression and debuffing and getting stronger with debuff zones, ultimately I don't think it really lands her in a spot where she's particularly powerful. And although the debuffing helps contribute to your team DPS, unlike Lathna, she doesn't have Dispelling, she doesn't have Scorch Rend or anything, so I just feel like you end up in a situation where sometimes it's just hard to fit these types of characters into your team comps for solo play, and then as far as a backliner in co-op or a co-op character, she just has a basic skill damage co-ability on wands and a basic chain co-ability that's more defensive, so she didn't really stand out all that much to me. When it comes to Gala Notte, if you aren't familiar with her or haven't summoned her, I said that she has a good shared skill. That's her second skill here. It just has a really high hit count, which can be useful, and a relatively low SP cost considering that it dispels. So that's nice. She has a good co-ability and chain co-ability combination, which is also good. And then Metamorphosis gives her this unique form, the Meganaut form, which is quite good at clearing out mobs in Yaldabaoth, and just a pretty solid form also against Legend Ciela if you're still taking that on. So I think she's a very solid adventurer. And then finally, when it comes to Gala Reborn Agni, just a very powerful, pure DPS-oriented Flame Dragon. If you already have Gala Mars, probably not as much of a necessity, maybe even if you have Gozu Tenno, but you can't really go wrong with putting Gala Reborn Agni on any adventurer, and these days there are more adventurers that do a lot of their damage through basic attacks, through force strikes, not as much through skills. So that's where Mars really shined. Nowadays you have different types of adventurers that deal their damage in other ways, and so for that reason, somebody like Gala Reborn Agni probably has more use cases than in the past. That's my quick analysis on this showcase, so let's hop over and take a look at some of the gameplay. Alright, so here we go with some Drifting Sorrows gameplay, starting out with the EX battle, and then we'll hop over into Astral Volk. I basically just wanted to spend this time to talk about the event and give my impressions as usual. This one was short, it was an onslaught event. Gameplay-wise, not a whole lot has really changed here. Volk was sort of interesting to battle in his astral form, where we have to be a dragon. But as far as the event story goes, this one was a mix of sorrowful, fitting the title, but also really wholesome and really endearing. I liked the relationship between Lathna and Cleo. I thought that that was a really nice pairing, and just to see Lathna separated and brought into her own, separate from Curran and Heinwald, was really nice. I liked how toward the beginning of the event, when they were trying to figure out what caused the lanterns to start reviving the dead, I love how Lathna was sort of this just mini detective and kind of took on some of the traits of Curran and Heinwald as she carried out the investigation. And Cleo, of course, just being that big sister for her, being super nurturing. We did get some heavy backstory as far as Cleo, and learning about the loss of her parents and exactly how that went down. Miriam also made an appearance to comfort her, and that reminder of how Cleo was comforted served as sort of the motivation or inspiration for Cleo to in turn want to help Lathna. I just think it was very feel-good by the end of the event. I feel like the demons within Lathna, if you will, are still not fully resolved or not fully settled, not fully exercised perhaps, literally, but it was still kind of cool to get another development moment for Lathna, and it wasn't super deep. Like, I don't see this event on the same level as the event with Akasha. I think that was, what was it, Stirring Shadows, or the very first Curran and Heinwald event, the Accursed Archives. This one definitely felt a little bit lesser in terms of significance. Yes, the Ancient One was name dropped. Yes, we got one of the Nyarlathotep revived, but it all sort of just felt like small stakes, ultimately. Like, I never was in this event thinking the Ancient One's going to come back or anything like that, and that is sort of the nature of these Onslaught events. As we start our Astral Volk battle here, have to point out, of course, went with Child Ronzel because of the Ronzel-Volk matchup, and Child Ronzel did pretty well for me in this. I don't think that these are particularly challenging if you're kept up with the rest of the endgame, but I honestly have not really kept up with the endgame, so I guess this might have been a little bit harder for me had I not gotten this break super early. But speaking of endgame, there's new Mercurial Gauntlet content. The Lilith raid was surprisingly hard for me. I thought I was just going to be able to auto it or just do a quick play co-op and clear on my first try. Neither of those things were true, so I actually had to put a little bit of effort into it. Have yet to do Legend Tartarus, still trying to catch up on that. Have yet to do co-op for Asura or co-op for Legend Dayahan de Toha. So as far as endgame content goes, honestly, I'm still just kind of catching up in Dragalia Lost, still a little bit behind. That is one reason, in case you're curious about the first half of this video, why I haven't spent as much time on the Summon Showcase reviews, the banner reviews, just because I feel like I still need to catch up with the endgame content to be able to really give a valid opinion on how these characters could potentially fit in. Fortunately, this time around, we had a wind adventure and a flame adventure, and so I thought I could probably talk about that fairly well. But in the future, I definitely plan on going back to more banner reviews once I'm able to. That is going to do it for today, though, everyone. So thank you, as always, for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.